kind of relationship. It's more of, I'm going to give you a prime example. My sergeant, great guy. Love the guy. He's awesome. Good friend of mine, both on the clock and off the clock. But he has been 100% hard on me. And sometimes I'm like, okay, dude, you could chill out with the hardness, you know? But when I'm starting to, well, actually, I'm not starting. I've been realizing this, that he has been grooming me or attempting to groom me into the person that I need to be beneficial to the job and to the agency. And because he loves me enough to tell me when I'm wrong and when to correct it, he doesn't care about my feelings. He cares about the fact that I need to do this job right so that I can succeed and make myself look good, make the agency look good, and also let the victim see what kind of detective we all can be. You know, so same thing with my pastor. If I make a mistake on something, he loves me enough to tell me, hey, dude, look, you need to fix this. All right, Pastor Bill, I'll fix it, you know. But then I have some friends that are afraid to tell me when I'm doing something wrong or when I said something that could be harsh or whatnot. And then I have those friends that'll say something harsh and not care about the feelings of the other person. Right. And I'm not saying men should be all mushy and gooey and you know, wear their feelings on their sleeve. But when it comes to the matters of the heart or matters of spirituality in our relationship with God, we kind of need to wear our vulnerability on our sleeve because it needs to be out in the open. If it's not out in the open, we can't deal with that problem. All right. We can't deal with that sin, if you will. It's always going to be hidden underneath the cuff of our sleeve or underneath the watch band. You know, I'm using analogies here, but yeah, we definitely have to be open to sharing everything there is about our sinful lives, if you will, as brothers in Christ.
And you don't need tons of these kinds of friends, but you need a few of them. You need hopefully, again, your spouse is one. I hope your spouse is a spiritual friend, you know, if you're married. But then, you know, besides that, guys should have, you know, a couple of other guys like this. And I think it's so important that, you know, in this book, there's 5 traits I'm using to describe guys who really have dynamic walks. This is one of 5. So that's how important I think it is that men are willing to have this kind of quality relationship in their life.
Now, what are some risk and dangers of spiritual friendships?
Yeah, you know, I think we have to remember as Christians that we ultimately are called not just to befriend the people we like, right? I mean, not just to surround ourselves with the people we enjoy. And with any kind of friendship, there's the danger of being closed off. And so guys just need to remember, okay, this is a relationship. It's not the only relationship that we're called to. And so, you know, you're going to have people who you are called to love that are never going to be able to reach this level of friendship because, truth be told, they're not trustworthy or they lack discretion or whatever else. They're just kind of, you know, foolish. But we're still called to love them as a fellow brother or sister in Christ. And so, you know, guys need to think about circles of relationships and the way in which you treat different types of people differently. But yeah, the danger is that this becomes kind of the back door into just being able to focus on the people you enjoy being around and forget about the people who are awkward and difficult that God has also called us to befriend and love.
Sometimes I'm like, why are you calling me to befriend this person? I don't even like this person, you know?
Yeah.
I got a few of those, I must admit. However, I try to be cordial with them and I try to, you know, respect them in a manner that glorifies God. And I fail at it almost every single day.
Right.
But, you know, that person that, you know, like I have he's a kid that I'm trying to groom into the right person. And I've gotten accustomed to God using me in such a way that God's will is done and I'm satisfied with whatever comes out of the relationship, you know, to where I'll help someone through something. Of course, God's using me as the vessel, and this person gets through that struggle and they start to flourish. And then he sent me this person that doesn't listen, doesn't like direction, correction, or criticism, constructive criticism, and tends to buck everything that's being thrown at them. But this person claims to be a Christian and claims to love God. And it's like, okay, you're claiming all of these things, I'm trying to be that spiritual brother for you and help you through these things. But what you're saying over here and what really needs to happen isn't lining up. So what am I supposed to believe? Are you really a Christian? Or are you just like doing the sinful things, ticking people off, thinking you can do what you want? Or are you really seeking the things of God? And if you're seeking the things of God, will it line up to where God is in the forefront and where God is glorified? And I've been praying for patience, and I made a mistake by doing that because
That's right.
this kid is literally testing my patience. And for me, I guess a danger of spiritual friendship would be sometimes I'm ready to just throw in a towel and say, you know what, forget it. You do you and I will do me.
Right.
But then that's the selfish side of me coming out and not obeying God's command to go, therefore, and teach or help someone through something. You know, I think every time I want to throw in a towel, I am in complete violation of Matthew 28 and 29, you know, completely just in violation of it. And it's like, I can't do that. I want to strangle this person. He needs to get it. But, you know, again, we can't be judgmental because if this person relies on us to keep their deepest secrets, or not keep them, but help them get through their deepest secrets, then we have to, what men claim they like to do is persevere and not throw in that towel. You know, so dangers with spiritual friendships can always be at the forefront of our minds, but at the same time, we need to not worry about that and let God handle that, because obviously he's the one calling you to it. And what's that old saying? He'll lead you through it. So we just have to trust God with everything. Basically, we have to trust God with our lives.
Every relationship's dangerous. That's the humorous thing about this statement. You know, settling down. When you talk about when you get married, you settle down. You don't settle down. I mean, you begin a whole adventure. Like, there's nothing more dangerous than like opening yourself up to somebody that you think you know, but you know. So that's why relationships are so transformative. I mean, they're disruptive. You know, you see the shadow you didn't even know existed.
Right.
But that's, if you want to grow, you need that kind of knowledge that only comes through another person.
Absolutely. Now, spiritual friendship is a concept that Keller and Timothy Keller used in his book on marriage. All right. So what is the relevance of spiritual friendship for thinking about the kind of relationship husband should pursue with their wives? Now, that's a very important question. What is the relevance of that spiritual friendship?
Yes. So, you know, you have two types of guys. You have one set of guys that leans exclusively on his wife for spiritual friendship. And so, you know, they've got a great degree of intimacy where they can talk and share. And that's supposed to be enough when it's not. And they have another guy who, you know, loves to talk to his guy friends and kind of closes himself off to his spouse. And the truth is, we need spiritual friends. If we're married, we need our spouse, and we also need some guys because they're different, those two relationships. But think about marriage, you know, we ought to hope and pray that our deepest spiritual friendship is with our spouse. And I'll read a quote from Tim Keller in his book on marriage. He says, "What then is marriage for? It is for helping each other to become our future glory selves. The new creations that God will eventually make us. The common horizon husband and wife look toward is the throne and the holy, spotless, and blameless nature we will have." And so what that does is it puts marriage in this context of a pilgrimage, a journey together, where you're both headed to a place and you've been brought together for a time in order to help each other grow into the people God has called you to be. In essence, that's what spiritual friendship is. And that's what marriage is for. And so, you know, this fits very well as guys are thinking about, okay, how do I need to grow and develop my relationship with my wife? Well, again, you need for both of you to see that, hey, ultimately we're going to stand in the presence of Jesus. And so this is not just about you and I getting along, raising kids, having a good time, going on date nights. All of that might be good and have its place, but ultimately we've got to see all of this is for something bigger. We want to be the bride of Christ. And so that's what we've been called together for.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And look, you know, you're so right. Men need camaraderie. And it's not just that kind of friendship where you hang out with your guys on the weekends and drink a beer or barbecue or watch a football game or a basketball game. it's something deeper where when you enter a friendship, a spiritual friendship, you are entering, and I love it, a covenant agreement to hold one another accountable and keep one another on the same path that you are on, like on that strong Christian Christ-like path. And it's a bond that interlocks that nobody can break. Okay. And this is a weak bond. Anybody can break that. But if you cling on to something and you really dig in and you dig your heels in and you work with that person and that person works with you and you hold each other accountable, then, it's kind of like Christ and the bride of the church, and that's why marriage is such and I'm not married. I wish I was. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I do. I don't know. I can't make up my mind. But but marriage is, when you look at marriage in the Bible, it's literally that chain link fence, if you will, that joins a husband and a wife as one. All right, as a husband and a bride. But when they're together, they're supposed to have that intimate, covenant agreement to hold each other accountable and this, that, and the other. But think about it. Let's say I was married, Joe, and then you and your wife, because I'm young, took me and my wife under your wing, and the four of us started building a strong relationship. Now our marriage is stronger. And then we pick a younger couple and do the same thing with. And it just keeps going forward and forward and forward. And before you know it, you have another church outside of the church within the church. All right. So that friendship doesn't just start with, oh, let's go have a beer or hang out together. It starts with the foundation, which is Christ. And that camaraderie needs to start with Christ, no matter what. That's my opinion.
And that's what ultimately this is about. I mean, when you draw near to a Christian, ultimately, if they have Christ in them, then the very deepest, the very best thing about them is what you come to know about Jesus. They, in a sense, become a way for you to get to know him. And that's the beauty of marriage, that in the relationship, it's really, you're getting to know Jesus better through each other and what, each other are able to reveal and share in terms of the life that he's given us. And, the same thing can happen in a set of friends, when you need comfort and a guy's able to speak that word in season that you need to hear. And, that's ministry of the Spirit happening right there. But it's because he knows you, because he knows what your struggle, he's able to speak. Or again, if it's the other, if all of a sudden, you're just need to be like slapped across the face, like David, looking at Bathsheba, that too, that's the ministry of the Spirit too. And so, God can really powerfully use these relationships, but we've got to invest in them, because when we need them, they won't be there. And that's what happens to a lot of guys. They invest in their career, they've got their hobbies, they don't invest in relationships. And then, they hit midlife, they start having a few, the water gets a little bit choppy, and they don't have anybody to support them, to help them. And, all of a sudden they do something extreme. It's too bad, because if they would have had that set of guys that knew that they probably could have avoided some mistakes. So again, that's the warning for this week.
Thank you. You beat me to it. Now, my sisters sometimes tell me that I need to spend more time out there building relationships, but they mean it for another reason. But I make it a point to, call my friends that I have in my close circle, and I make it a point to reach out to them at least once a week, every other week or something like that, just to see how they're doing, just to check up on them. And they may not have the same religious beliefs that I do, but I still make it a point to let them know that I'm there if they need me. Because look, I'm not bragging. I'm a well-known guy. I don't like to admit it, but it's true. So it would be kind of dumb of me not to keep those relationships going, because it's not about me. All right. Because if people can see Christ through me, then I want to continue to display Christ. So they want to say, okay, what does he have that I don't have? I could be the poorest person out of all my friends, but I got something that they need. And like my good friend Tim would always say, that's the Jesus I know. So I want to make sure that my friends and my family see the Jesus and they learn the Jesus that I know. And that's my whole goal, my whole purpose for this podcast. It's that they would see the Jesus that I know. That's all I got for today. You got anything else you want to add since you beat me to the warning label?
Yeah, no, I just